what's up? This is Marwan. I'm in the University of Ottawa, and what I want to talk about today is how to build self-discipline and why motivation is unreliable. So the thing is, whenever you want to practice something new or you want to do something more consistently, so let's say you want to practice doing dance lessons a lot, or you want to go to the gym more consistently, or you want to practice more playing more guitar. There's a lot of reliance on finding ways to stay motivated. There's a lot of focus on figuring out how to stay motivated, how to keep yourself self-motivated. So the thing is, I feel like there's too much focus on figuring out different ways to stay motivated instead of figuring out how to build discipline so that you can take action consistently. So over time, I've noticed that finding sparks of motivation here and there is really good for reminding me of the why, reminding me of why I do what I do. And that's really good for keeping that excitement, keeping that passion alive. And the thing is, like, that excitement will come and go, and it'll come and go again, and it'll just keep coming and going over time. So you can't really rely on the fact that just because if you're not excited for something, you're not going to do it, and if you're excited, you're going to do it, because that's unsustainable. You're going to end up taking action. You're just going to end up taking action very inconsistently. So you're going to maybe have like multiple weeks of really good, like solid, consistent action, but then you're just going to drop off, be low energy, not feel like it, and because you don't have that discipline to back it up, you're going to end up not taking any action, pretty much. So what you want to do instead is build self-discipline so that you can take consistent action. And what I mean by consistent action is, of course, multiple months, multiple years of action, not just like a couple of days or a couple of weeks. So how you build that self-discipline is essentially by overcoming excuses. So every single time you have an excuse, so let's say, for example, one of the biggest excuses is always like, I don't feel like it, like I don't feel like practicing today, or I don't feel like going out today. You just want to stay at home, and watch Netflix and stimulate your brain with Netflix instead of, getting out a little bit out of your comfort zone, or like going to the gym and like lifting that weight, and that's just gonna hurt. Like, screw that. I just want to stay at home and watch videos all day. So if you don't have that discipline, and you're gonna eventually, inevitably come up with excuses to not take action. And if you don't have that discipline, you're going to fall into that trap and end up like not taking action and be very inconsistent about it. But if over time you learn to overcome those excuses, what's going to happen is you're going to build a little bit of self-discipline every single time you overcome an excuse. And what's going to happen is over time, that self-discipline is going to stack up, and you're going to end up surpassing a certain threshold. And once you surpass that threshold, in the long term, every time you think of an excuse, every time you come up with an excuse, you're just going to naturally ignore it and just take that action anyway. Even if you're feeling tired, even if you're feeling really sick, just because you're so used to going through the motions, you're going to be in that like autopilot mode, and you're just going to take that action anyway. So how do you do it? How do you overcome excuses? Well, one way to do it is by baby stepping it. So every time you have an excuse, you kind of break down the steps in order to take action. For example, you say, like, if you plan on going to the gym, you could say, okay, I'm just gonna put on my gym clothes, and that's it. And then after you do that, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna put on my running shoes, and that's it. And then after you do that, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go outside, and that's it. And then you kind of focus on the next step and the next step, and eventually until you reach the gym. So that's kind of like one way to do it. Essentially what you're doing is baby stepping it. So you're only focusing on the next step instead of focusing on the long term, on the end goal, which is like to be in the gym and working out and all that. So just to wrap up, the idea here is to build discipline, focus on doing that so that you can take consistent action in the long term, over the next couple of months, couple of years, instead of just finding the next cool TED Talk or reading the next cool article or going to a cool presentation to get yourself motivated. In that way, by building a lot of discipline, you're going to take a lot more consistent action in comparison to just relying on motivation. So that's all I want to talk about today. And on that note, as always, until next time.